Yeah. Will Diddy go home today? Will they give him bail? It's just a bail. And, you know, he still had to come back and get sentenced. So don't get it twisted. If he gets out, he still got time he got to do, guys. So we got to understand that just because he gets bonded out of jail, he's still guilty and he still faces time. So we're going to watch this to see how it turn out. What's going on? Hope everybody doing good out there. Hope you're having a good afternoon. It is 4 o'clock where I'm at. And we're waiting any second to get the news.
Attorneys about this. We heard from authors of this. So they came back with that yesterday around exactly this time. I'm unsure if they were going to be able to
basically get a bond,
jury or another. But they
that's all this
pushed
is.
Them, both the defense and prosecution did, to get back in the room to deliberate more. They returned inside of that jury room earlier on today.
Still going to jail, guys.
And it didn't take long for them to come back with the verdict. The 5-count verdict in all, as they passed one verdict slip to the judge and they read it out in the courtroom. Count number 1, the most serious count on terms of racketeering. It came emotional release for him, as these were the scenes, these were the sketches inside.
Come on.
You can see there down on his knees,
come on in here and kick it with me.
That he sat on for the better part of 2 months inside of this courtroom, hearing some of those extremely personal, extremely graphic details being shared to the world. All right, so we're just still watching and waiting here. They're outside of the courtroom for this to begin.
Let's see right now. What would they give Diddy?
The determination on how long he might remain.
They give him a bond.
How quickly he could be released. So still watching and waiting. You see people coming and going. We're not going to get a ton of information about it right now, but Sean Diddy Combs
give you a
found guilty on 2 charges, acquitted in the
money.
Let's take it right now out to our Fox 5 team there following this breaking news. Live now.
It's until...
We're following breaking news as we come on the air tonight. Sean Diddy Combs acquitted of the most serious charges against him. These are live pictures from the courthouse where we are now waiting to learn if he will be released from jail. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Natasha Verma.
And I'm Bianca Peters in for Steve.
Hold on, let me get my water, guys. I'll be right back.
On 2 of the 5 counts that he was facing. They are the lesser offenses, so his defense team has asked for his release.
Diddy's bail hearing is scheduled to begin at any moment now. The judge asking both sides to submit letters arguing for and against his release.
Now, if Diddy is released from jail, he would likely be subject to specific conditions while awaiting sentencing, as his legal team has proposed a $1 million bond and travel restrictions as well.
And this morning, Diddy was found not guilty of racketeering conspiracy and 2 counts of sex trafficking, but he was found guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. So that means he could still face prison time, but maybe released while awaiting sentencing.
Also, right now, we are waiting for the judge's decision on that. So let's get ready to Lisa Evers, who's been outside the courthouse all morning long into this evening. Lisa, what are you hearing?
What do I think?
Well, Bianca, Natasha, just think about this. That verdict came out early this morning.
I think he's going to get bond.
Sean Diddy Combs has been in a holding pen the entire day waiting for this whole issue to be resolved. Instead of resolving that bail question right after the verdict was read, the prosecutors asked for several more hours in order to try and put their position together, which their position being they want to keep Sean Diddy Combs behind bars, even though he was cleared of the 2 most serious charges in this case. But let's bring in right now criminal defense attorney and former Manhattan prosecutor Jeremy Sallin to get some understanding about this whole bail process that's going on right now. Jeremy, thank you so much for being with us. A little unusual for them to delay the bail hearing like this so many hours after the verdict?
There's nothing unusual about this case. Everything about it's unusual, especially when you think about the magnitude of the charges that were brought against Sean Combs and to be cut down to last return by the prosecution right at the knees, leaving him with a crime that does not mandate incarceration, though he's already been in for 10
Appreciate y'all
months.
for joining me.
And now it's a very fair
Trying to
question
see
to
what's gonna
ask.
happen with
The
Diddy.
Reform Act
Real
decide
thing.
about keeping him in.
Give him a
Why
bail.
should he not get out when he's not facing mandatory incarceration?
But what at this point would you
you
say
gotta
the
understand
prosecution's
is
or the prosecutors'
he's
main
guilty.
concerns are about
Two
if
charges.
they let him out on bail?
They carry
I
2
think
to
there's an
10
integrity check here.
on
Do I
each
really
charge.
believe, or do they really believe that he's a danger to the community at large, is a danger to any particular
Still
people,
looking
he's
at
not going to return to
years.
court? That's a hard stretch considering the man came down
Just
prior
because
to
he
being
walked
charged.
today.
The man surrendered his passport. There's been no
That's
allegations
temporary.
since the accusation
You gotta
began that he's
understand
made
that.
any threats. And the bottom line
Diddy
is all
walks
of those
today.
things he's accused him of in terms of
Temporary.
violence, guess what? He wasn't
In other
accused. He was acquitted.
words,
Not a conviction.
just get a
Right,
little
and I
time
think
to
that's the
get
thing
his
that's so
affairs
hard
in
for us to
order.
understand. So
Until
one of the bail
sentencing.
denials, there were several attempts to
already
get him
guilty.
bail all the way through this process. The
So-
prosecution said, well, we're worried about him intimidating witnesses.
They let him
But
bond
that
out.
wouldn't even be a point right now because he
He's
was
gonna be
cleared
out
of the
until
sex trafficking
time
and the
to get-
RICO charges, right?
Time to get
I
his
think
time.
it's a heavy lift, even more so than the RICO
Again,
charge itself. The prosecution with a
each
straight face say, this man is a
charge
danger to society, this man is a danger to any
2 to 10.
particular women, this man is not, is a risk of flight.
Each charge
Absolutely not. The
between
evidence doesn't
2
bear it
and
out in
10
terms
years.
of what he's been convicted of,
Bedtime.
and nor does the history of in terms of his compliance
And
with returning to court
bedtime
or
is
behaving
day
and following
for
the
day.
judge's instructions. I think they come up empty-handed, but again, there's something called the Bail
Bedtime is
Reform
day
Act,
for
which
day.
says in substance, barring
Gotta
exception, he
understand
should be
that,
held in.
guys.
And then in terms of the final decision, that should be the judge, right? That will make that decision based upon these letters that he's gotten that Natasha and Bianca were talking about from the prosecution and the defense.
Appreciate
Yeah,
y'all
he's
for
going to have to
joining me.
assess
Hit the like
everything. He's
button.
going to be the arbiter of everything. The defense is saying, let's set $1 million. Combs will easily make that and be out. We can monitor him. We can regulate where he travels to in certain
Appreciate you for joining me.
jurisdictions
Hit
he
the
can
like
go.
button.
It can be done, and there's really no reason from a practical standpoint. And to be
main
clear,
thing is
he, yes, faces up to
that
10 years in
people
prison.
gotta realize
theoretically consecutive. That's
that
never going to happen to 20
he
years.
didn't beat
We're
all
talking potentially
charges.
months and nominal years
Still guilty.
if he's ultimately
Gotta
sentenced.
realize
For
that.
that, on the transportation
On the
for
transportation
prostitution
charge. Correct.
for
Correct.
charges. But
Gotta
then in
realize
terms,
he's
in
still
terms of
looking at
the conditions
here.
and that they would have to satisfy, there were other things that he had offered in the past that were turned down by the government. An ankle monitor
Some of these
bracelet,
comments
having
I'm not
24-hour security watching him.
Hold up.
What about that? Do you think there'll be special circumstances or conditions that maybe a regular prison, I shouldn't say regular, but another detainee with a similar conviction would be not asked
I think
to do?
a regular detainee with a similar conviction would not have to have an ankle bracelet
let me
with
get my
24/7
comments
monitoring
together,
by
guys.
security. Handing your passport, defense counsel already has that. Stay in certain venues, drug tests. Don't leave New York or Florida where you reside. Post bond if you need to, in terms of the $1 million, if that's what's being asked by the defense. Those are reasonable things to ask. Is he going to return to court? Yes. If you have
Some
evidence
comments
that
are not
makes it right,
showing.
you
Hello,
put him
Beverly,
back
how
in.
you doing?
And then you've tried many big cases.
Appreciate
What
you
role
joining.
does his family presence have? It's been very strong, very consistent, especially this last final week. His
Appreciate you
mother's
for
been there
joining.
every single day. He said his 85-year-old mother is one of the defense application. He needs to be the main caretaker for his 85-year-old mother, Mrs. Janice Combs, who's been here every single day, and
Hey,
also
Pete,
be a father to
Diddy
his
mom
3-year-old
is
baby
85
daughter.
years old,
And then
guys.
we've seen the other kids, the grown kids, in
don't
there
look
and
like
other
she's
extended
85.
family members. What effect does that have on a judge in this kind of
So
decision?
family ties are critical to show community ties. Family ties are critical to show you're not going to flee and you're going to return to court. However, let's not overstate. I think the defense has to be careful. Well, if he's a primary caretaker, who's been taking care of him for the past 10 months? If he's a primary caretaker for a young child, obviously someone else has been doing it. Let's not overstate, but let's also be very clear. They showed their support. They came for him. They're available for him. They're going to ensure his return.
They offered one of the bail packages previously that was denied by the judge and by the court was $50 million. Do you think this is going to be, we're going to be in the 7 figures to 8 figures?
Assuming that the judge agrees to release him, it's either going to be release him or subject to certain conditions, or it's going to be much, much more nominal in terms of what that dollar amount is. There's no reason, if it was that higher, when you're talking
$50 million
about violent
bond.
crimes, they don't exist. They're gone.
Money,
Granted, I will say
money,
this,
money.
the prosecution at the time of sentencing can raise that evidence, even though he was acquitted, for the purpose of sentencing.
bond.
So there is still that element, but bail needs to be reduced or he needs to be released.
All right, we'll
Diddy
stay tuned
gonna
to
get
find out.
whatever
Jeremy Salem, thank you so
to
much
make
for
that
being
bond.
with us. And again, if you're just joining us right now, the bail hearing for Sean Diddy Combs happening
That's my shirt,
inside
guys.
this courthouse. He'll find
Money,
out
money,
whether
money,
tonight he's going to go back to the
money.
Metropolitan Detention Center that has been named by numerous prison watch groups as one of the the worst in the United States in terms of conditions, or whether he'll be in a much more comfortable setting for his first night out after this verdict was released. Anyway, that's the latest from federal court. Natasha and Bianca, back to you in the studio.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much. And keep watching Fox 5 for continuing coverage of this breaking Diddy verdict. We're going to have more legal analysis coming up.
Diddy gonna pay that.
All right, it appears they're going away from coverage here on this on Live Now from Fox, but this is what we're sticking with. You can see the live picture of this courthouse, and we have several different vantage points. As you can see, the supporters, they were just talking about this, awaiting the bail hearing decision for this 5 p.m. hearing here on Live Now from Fox. The live pictures, you can see several supporters. It looks like they're in the vehicle transport area for this hearing. So we'll see what happens. You heard some of the conditions there that might be laid out for this case here from New York City inside of this courthouse. The verdict coming down today. We'll see if he remains at that MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center, or is released on this bail. Heading home, potentially could stay in the likes of New York, Florida, or California, places that he has spent quite a bit of time. So there's plenty of supporters there out right now here on Live Now from Fox as we await any sort of decision. So we're also getting new information. We're hearing from the lawyers for Cassie Ventura, the star witness for the prosecution, talking about her bravery to come forward to really start this whole investigation.
That's the only thing I don't like about streaming service.
Closely. This is a post from Megan Cuniff, also from Douglas Wigner, the attorney for Cassie, saying Cassie is opposing Sean Diddy Combs' release from federal custody, saying Miss Ventura believes that Mr. Combs is likely to pose a danger to the victims who testified in this case, including herself, as well as to the community. So you're hearing there from the attorneys on the ground about some of that status and the danger to the community, danger to potentially her, Cassie Ventura, the ex-girlfriend, also a community, but he was also just acquitted on those two major counts,
he'll get a bond.
3 counts, 2 different charges, one for sex trafficking and the other for racketeering. So there's also concern about witness tampering.
But if it was me,
intimidation,
I wouldn't get I wouldn't even bond out.
As the verdict already has come in, that point is somewhat not important, not relevant
anymore. It don't make any sense to bond out.
We're watching this here on Live Now from Fox. Let's take you back out to our Fox 5 team as they continue to discuss the story.
I think Lisa summed it up pretty well in what she was talking about. What I was told to describe is how things are out here. There's an immediate sense of elation or celebration out here once that verdict was read. This has been a very pro-friendly, pro-Sean Combs crowd during this entire trial, really, and even during the last 10 days when we've had some of the hottest days on record for the year so far. Let's have a listen in on what it sounded like outside the courthouse when Sean Diddy Combs' mother emerged after the verdict was rendered.
He doesn't pose a danger.
We saw her blowing kisses to people and other people cheering them on. Now, not only has she been coming to court, as Lisa had just said, but his family, his sons have been coming. A short time separate from that, we saw out of the back entrance of this federal courthouse, the federal the jurors. Hey, you know what? Tell me what it is that's going on right now, guys. Who's yelling at me? Well, this is breaking news right now. Let's come back on camera for this.
Okay, what's going on? Something happened.
Lisa Evers here. We're learning right now, Lisa, that apparently bond has been denied.
They denied bond.
Okay,
well, I don't know if that's
they denied bond.
Let's get Jeremy here.
Yeah, Jeremy, can you come back in here when you get a moment? So what we had been positioned for was an argument that because the jury found Sean Diddy Combs guilty only on the lesser of the charges, that there was a presumption that he might be able to go home. The judge even asked him at one point, I imagine you don't want to go back to MDC. He nodded vigorously. Right? Let's use this microphone. I'm not sure if that one works. And Jeremy, if you'll come in here
Jeremy.
too. Should we start with Jeremy's reaction?
Jeremy Sallin is with us. He's a criminal defense attorney and former
prosecutor.
and the bail. The news is that bail has been denied.
Yeah, that the judge.
So there is the law. The statute says, in substance, that bail would be denied, meaning that he goes in and stays in. There's not an exception. For example, there could be an exception where the prosecution says we consent, and there's other pieces to it as well. There could be a danger to somebody or not, but the bail being kept as it is not necessarily atypical because of the law, though one would believe the fact that he was not convicted of the top charge, and it's been a reduction, and people do walk free and come back and ROR'd.
Well, keeping the bail as it is means there's no bail.
Right. So he's remanded, he's held without bail. So this doesn't change the potential sentence, obviously, because it's still up to 10 years, but for the immediate gratification purposes of getting out, doing what he needs to do, and fighting this from the outside in terms of preparing for that sentencing, now it's been stripped.
And let me just add, this morning the prosecution was very adamant about wanting to have this extra time to present their argument to the judge, and obviously they were disappointed with the verdict. It was very visible and very obvious, but they wanted to keep him behind bars, and they said, Your Honor, we need several hours to really get this whole argument together for you, and that's pretty stunning.
But again, I think you have to go back to what the law is and what it allows for, and generally speaking, barring some exceptions, the Bail Reform Act says you're staying, you're not just getting released. He was convicted of a crime. I think people, rightfully so, are disappointed and have questions from a public perspective when you have such a horrific allegation that is not proven or substantiated beyond a reasonable doubt. And summarily, we're not talking about on the cuff. That's a pretty quick verdict that I think fooled many people, thinking that there might have been a sex trafficking conviction. He's walking scot-free in terms of any allegation of coercion, force, fraud, violence. But he's still in custody.
Can we just ask your name? Was it a difficult decision for the judge?
I think the judge is, I think the judge is not finding any exception and following the law, and that's why he's saying
somebody
that.
that's
the hope from the
56,
prosecution,
57 years old,
the defense, raised it specifically in their letter to the court, was that yes, there may be the Bail Reform Act, and that was what the prosecution relied on. Said statutorily, you can't just let him walk. The prosecution was hoping, the defense was hoping that the judge would look past that and say he's returned, he just shows that he can follow the court order, he's not going to flee, and he's not a danger to anyone specifically or the community at large.
And then let me ask you this, in terms of the appealing this decision, what's the process?
See, the thing is, this the thing, guys. He's shown that he's violent. We all seen the video that he beat and dragged the girl. He showed that he's violent. And whatever else was said inside of that courtroom. So he really is a risk. He really is. He's a risk. A flight risk at that. He got all the money. He could burn off and go out of the country. I'm not surprised that he was denied bond. I'm not surprised at all. I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised either if during the sentencing they give him 20 years. I wouldn't be surprised, bro. I wouldn't be surprised. So everybody's celebrating, but what they're not talking about is the underlying time that he can get for each case. Each case carries 2 to 10. 2 to 10. The judge can say, I'm going to give you 10 for the first one. I'm going to give you 10 for the second one. And I'm going to stack them. That's 20. He can also say, I'm going to give you 10 and 10 and run the charges together instead of it being 20, 10. He can also say, I'm going to give you 5 and 5 and stack them and give you 10 or 5 and 5 and we're going to run them together and you'll get 5. He can also say, I'm going to give you probation for 20 years. So that's where it's at right now. That's where it's at. Me personally, this is what I think. I think they're gonna give him. That's what I think. That's what I think. St. Charles. I think he's gonna get 5, and they're gonna run them together, and they're gonna give him 5 years. They're gonna give him 1 year time back time, and he'll do 4. And yes, and then a Trump pardon. That's what I think. That's what I really think. I think Trump is gonna pardon him, because if you don't know, him and Trump is like this. A lot of people don't know that. Diddy and Trump are good friends, bro. From way back in the 90s. Like I say all the time, a lot of people don't know this, especially the younger generation. Donald Trump used to be P. Diddy's, Jay-Z, the big time rappers. Donald Trump was their mentor. ATM Tim, I was thinking of Trump pardon as well. That's what I think. I think that's coming. But a lot of people don't know this. Donald Trump was P. Diddy's mentor. Like, y'all know these days, a lot of YouTubers and a lot of people, you got to pay them for consultation. That's what Diddy and Jay-Z, Dame Dash, all those big timers, they was paying. They were paying Donald Trump to mentor them for, number 1, to teach them the real estate game. Number 2, to teach them how to market and get in customers. That's what Donald Trump was teaching them back in the game. They were paying him consultation fees. That's why they're close. Diddy did tell people, vote or die, right? He went against Donald Trump then because the Democrats paid Diddy a whole lot of money to tell us to vote or die and to vote for Obama. But don't get it twisted. That was just business. Diddy and Donald Trump are still like this. Diddy and Jay-Z is like this. Jay-Z and Donald Trump is like this. Diddy and Donald Trump is like this. Kanye West and Donald Trump is like this. Mike Tyson and Donald Trump is like this. They've been good friends since the 80s, bro. Oprah Winfrey and Donald Trump is like this. Way since the 80s. Black people have a weird obsession with Diddy. Black people have a weird obsession with rappers, period. Yeah. A weird obsession with rappers. Especially to these days. They are mesmerized by the rappers. That's just what it is. The reason why he said that, bro, is because it was political. They paid him a lot of money to say that. But I bet you this. I bet you he called Donald Trump to get out of jail. Him and Donald Trump was like this. And they understood it's politics. See, what a lot of people don't realize is those politicians be friends, bro. They be the best of friends. They want us to think that they don't like each other. They want us to think that this person is bad or that person is bad. But at the end of the day, they all friends, bro. They all are friends. It's called business. And politics is business. A lot of people don't think about that. Puffy needs to be in jail, under the jail. That's what a lot of people say. He has some, but a lot of these rappers, bro, ain't the best of guys. They're not. They ain't to be trusted, bro. They're not, bro. And it's been like that since rap first started. Most of the rappers, most of these rap dudes that own these record companies, they get over on their artists. You hear it over and over and over that they be scamming the young rappers out their money, putting them in 360 deals. Oh, yes, Trump gonna pardon Diddy because Donald Trump was Diddy's mentor in the 90s. Diddy used to pay Donald Trump consultation fee to give him the game. They like this. And yes, when it comes to business, particularly politics, it's all about the money. And they understand that, bro. If, as an example, if the Obama campaign gonna pay P. Diddy a half of $200-300 million to tell us Donald Trump is bad, vote or die, Donald Trump is racist. Guess what? He's gonna say that. They gonna say that. And Donald Trump ain't gonna be mad. Why? Because they understand his business. It's all about getting the bag, bro. It's all about getting the bag. It's all about getting the bag. Okay, let's see. Let's get back.
Shortly after the verdict was read. That was not the case. They were granted all these extra hours, the extra afternoon. Sean Diddy Combs sitting in a holding cell all the while this afternoon while they're crafting these letters to the judge to explain their positions. And the defense was arguing his mother, who we've seen many times here on Fox 5 going in and out of court every single day to support her son. She's 85 years old. The argument of the defense was that he's her primary caregiver, and certainly he is the closest relative to her, and that he also has a 3-year-old baby daughter, baby love Sean Combs, and that's her name. And so that was their argument. But the prosecution he still remains a danger. They wanted him behind bars until the sentencing, and this was I'm sure was devastating to Combs and many of the family who seemed elated. They were elated, in fact, when they heard those not guilty verdicts. But it's one more step. And as we've seen with Combs and other situations, once he's determined he's going to see it through, the worst is over in one sense, in that he is no longer looking at life behind bars. On the other hand, his attorneys will have to file an appeal to this denial of bail. And remember, they had several bail applications throughout the course of the pre-trial conferences and after his arrest that were completely denied, and those were just eye-popping.
Just think, if you're a content creator and you out there on the ground with your camera out, filming everything, you know how many subscribers you gonna get? A lot of people just out there for the clout, bro. You know how many subscribers you gonna get? If you out there live right now, a lot of people out there just for the clout, just to say they was there.
After that, after we found out that they found out the hearing would be
at
5 o'clock,
they all went
out together to have lunch,
they might
to
be
have something
to
eat, if in fact they could do that. I'm sure many of them thinking, okay, you know what, Dad's coming home, my son's coming home, that type of thing, and he will not have to spend another night in the MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center, which is a place nobody wants to go. And so that's what it is. It's just a devastating blow for them. They went from this high this morning of realizing that there's just those 2 counts of the prostitution transportation that they're facing, and that that can be dealt with over time. That's a far cry, Bianca, Natasha, from looking at the possibility of life behind bars, which would have been with the RICO case and many decades on the sex trafficking case, because that also carries a very, very heavy penalty. But that's it for today so far. And then tomorrow tomorrow the courtroom will be, tomorrow the whole courthouse is on administrative leave, is on administrative closure, meaning that they will be, excuse me one second, we're getting interference from all the helicopters up above. So tomorrow the courthouse that you see right behind me, where the trial's taking place and where this bail hearing just happened, that will be closed for an administrative closure. There will be no activity there, no scheduled activity there. Friday, the courthouse is federal holiday closed. It's always closed on Saturdays and Sundays. So there was obviously a pressure to get this decision in before the holiday weekend. And I'm sure there's a lot of disappointment all the way around that they just couldn't bring him home tonight. Natasha and Bianca?
Yeah, Lisa, you mentioned that.
All right, just listening in there, the Fox 5 team as they're diving into it. And this was the live picture. This is the live picture outside of the courthouse. As you can see, baby, people starting to leave as they will not get a glimpse of Diddy today as the verdict coming down, bail decision as it's denied, and then the sentencing still somewhat up in the air. They have kind of pitched the date of October the 3rd, but they'll finalize that in the next week or so at another hearing. All right, let's bring into the conversation right now for more on this, because it's been a whirlwind 24 hours, a whirlwind really 2 months for this entire high-profile case. Michael Babcock, TMZ executive producer. There's a lot to get to today. The bail was just denied. They said that he was potentially a risk to the community. What do we make of this decision, Michael?
Everything that's happened in this case, especially the last 2 days, has been surprising to me, Andy. I would have said certainly yesterday after the quick verdicts comes back that we were likely looking at guilty, more than 2 guilty verdicts here. I would have thought that the more serious charges likely would have been guilty. Obviously, that's not what happened.
People are pouring baby all over themselves.
After that happened, Andy, there was a thought that because these were at the end of the day not violent crimes.
Travis said, I wouldn't be surprised
that
if
was
Sugar
that
Puff
this was effectively transporting a sex worker across state lines. It's a case that I think you could argue would not even have been brought if they knew they were not ultimately going to get the conviction.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
So you say
I wouldn't be surprised if they still investigate.
Then walk out of jail.
Diddy behind Pac murder
to the court on whenever the sentencing
happens. I wouldn't be surprised,
if it is October 3rd, if it's earlier, he shows up then and he learns his fate. Well, that's what Diddy's team argued for, and ultimately it's what the judge rejected, because he said, look, there have been many instances throughout this trial where Diddy has, we know, allegedly been violent. We know sometimes we've seen it with our own eyes on video where he has been violent, and because of that, they feel like he is a threat to the community. And I think then, maybe I should stop reading the tea leaves, because I think I've been wrong every time I try to believe something. But
he really didn't get
off. Show Andy how the judge is thinking here, and are they looking at Diddy as a violent person? And does that mean that he is leaning towards the upper end of the sentencing guidelines?
He just got found not guilty
of the
on
serious charges here. The fact remains you could still do 10 years on each count, and if they did choose to stack them, theoretically you could be facing a 20-year prison sentence. I'm not suggesting he's going to get 20 years, but I think you probably get a little peek into the window of how the judge is thinking here, and he has just called Diddy a violent person, and I don't know that bodes well for Diddy.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, and I don't think
there's also
anything wrong with being wrong, because we've seen just so many twists and turns in this case. And you mentioned that
play with Diddy, Star Sniper?
We saw
this how he played with Diddy.
Intercontinental Hotel. We saw statements from Cassie
when they found Diddy guilty,
saying that he was a danger to her even now if they let him out.
He made Diddy think he was going to get out
the defense
by saying this one thing:
the bail, the bond.
You ready to get out of the detention center, ain't you?
Just facts around it that they would not.
That's some of the game.
Passport. He does not have his passport. Do you think they could have made an even stronger case? Because it doesn't feel like they had any leverage there.
There was a possibility that he could get bombed.
Ultimately, before the trial, Andy, as you know, they put up a much larger or
ready to get up out of that detention center, Mr. Combs?
In an effort to say, hey, don't put up tens of millions of dollars. Diddy's not going to flee. So I think ultimately the judge understands that Diddy could put up a lot of money here, but they want him behind bars. I'm not sure that if they would have said $2 million or $10 million or even $50 million, Andy, that anything would have changed. I think that the judge had made his mind up that Diddy was going to remain in jail until sentencing, and nothing that the defense attorneys we're going to say today no amount of money was going to necessarily change that.
All right, my last question before I let you go, because we talked about hypotheticals, kind of what ifs in terms of this case, and we saw some of the sketches. Obviously, no video from inside the courtroom, but this is what the Jane Rosenberg saw, what witnessed there.
Wow.
Kind of the exhale, the overwhelming relief from Diddy.
I never seen that movie. I never heard of that movie before.
As he will not spend time behind bars in terms of that. They're reporting that he could have come out and
that's why, guys,
to his supporters there on the ground,
don't pay
showering people with
to be tricking off to these women, bro.
Happening.
They don't pay to be thirsty. Wait, let me put this on pause.
Oh, it would have been mayhem.
I got to put this on pause because this is the main thing I want to get out there. This is the main thing I want to get out there, guys. Stop being thirsty behind these women. Stop being thirsty behind these women on Instagram, bro. Stop being thirsty behind the BBLs. Stop being thirsty. And another thing you got to realize, when you start tricking with these females and you tricking with multiple females, you can't not do one worse than the other. Take it from the OG. You can't do one of them. You got to treat them the same. Because if you treat one better than the other and she find out, guess what's going to happen? They're going to diddy you. He going to diddy you. Let me see. No, I'm not frozen, ATM Tim. I'm not frozen, bro. Yeah, Rob Balls. Guys be thirsty, bro. And what's really crazy? An old guy like me. Diddy is older than me. Diddy is 56, 57. I'm 50. An old guy like me being thirsty. An old guy like Diddy being thirsty. Bro, you need to be somewhere chilling. Not thirsty behind these young Instagram models. Come on, bro. I thought Diddy was smarter than that, guys. So that's the message. All this. The message is, don't be thirsty behind these females, bro. These Instagram models. These BBLs. Don't be thirsty about them. Don't be thirsty. No. If you my age, it don't look good being an old freak, bro. It don't. If you're an old man and you're an old freak, you thirsty behind these young girls, that ain't a good look. You need to go sit your old ass down somewhere, like what I do. Can't be thirsty, bro. So that's what we need to learn. Another thing, I notice a lot of these older men want these young girls. Yeah, just some old freaks, bro. Some old freaks. Yeah. ATM Tim, you right, bro. Just some old freaks. And it don't look good. It don't. It don't. And another thing, you guys that's coming up, you know, a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of guys on YouTube never had no girls before. So they get on YouTube and they get 100,000 subscribers. And guess what happens? They start flying these girls out, bro. They start getting thirsty behind these Instagram models, prostitutes, and they fly them out. Stop doing it. Y'all see right now, if you think you're having fun with a girl on Instagram and she live in Atlanta and you live in Florida or you live in New York or you live in California, don't fly her out, bro. Because guess what? If she feels some type of way, she gonna P. Diddy you. Get him to the Greek 2010 star. Jonah Hill, Russell Brand, and Diddy is the record label owner in it. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the moral of the whole life. If you're an old man like me, you better stay at home. Don't be freaky. It's not a good look. If you got money, you done came up. Don't go to Instagram looking for no BBLs and get in their DM. Stay out them girls' DM, bro. Because they are prostitutes. I said it. They prostitutes, bro. And guess what? The prostitutes these days, they don't play fair. They don't. And if they know that you with another one and you giving the other one more than you giving her, guess what they're going to do? They're going to P. Diddy you. Straight up. And guess what? They're going to do you all type of ways. They're going to do you all type of ways. And guess what happened? The girls are supposed to get charged too. Y'all know that, right? The girls are supposed to get charged with prostitution as well. It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. Why they didn't charge the girls with the same charge and the guys? Because I think they say it was guys involved too. That he was flying out guys too. Why they didn't get charged? You got to think about it. You got to think about it. Why the prostitutes didn't get charged? It's crazy. That's crazy, bro. 51 years old here. Trump has run this show since the late 70s. Yay, have. You have to be very, Tim, you have to be very careful out here nowadays with these women. Yeah, you do. I don't trust them. I don't trust them, bro. I don't. It'd be a lot of, I ain't gonna say it, a lot of times, those Instagram thoughts be getting inside my DM, bro. All the time. I don't even respond back to them. Perhaps the prostitutes were offered a deal. Yes, Professor C. Yeah, that's what happened. That's a cold lick. But those, I know a lot of you guys probably witnessed it, have been through this too. Those Instagram models get in your DM. I don't even answer them, bro. I don't. They follow you, and then they send you a DM. The prostitutes are working with the police. That's how they were getting off. That's cold, man. Charles, Cat Williams has been warning us all along. Yeah, he did. Epstein got away at first, too. Wow. This is crazy. But I believe Donald Trump gonna let him off. That's what I'm thinking. Donald Trump gonna let him off. That's what I think. Especially if a lot of people start protesting for Diddy, and a lot of people start saying free Diddy, and a lot, he gonna do what he hear a lot of people do. What's the deal with the arson charge anyway? Well, I think they dropped it. Yeah, I think they dropped that arson charge. But no, God has been warning us since the beginning of time. Yeah, Love Crowd, they dropped it. I think that was a couple of weeks ago. They dropped, it was attempted arson. Yeah, they dropped those charges. That's what the prosecution did. The prosecution thought that the racketeering and the sex trafficking was going to stick. That's what they thought. That's what they thought. Let's see what's going on.
Get onward to the appeal and start fighting from that perspective. And I think that they just want the time to start, because they know he is going to get some jail time. But in terms of what's going to go into the sentencing, listen, he's a first-time offender. It's a maximum of 10 years. He's likely to get kind of the lower end, possibly consecutive. We're not sure. So it's a big question whether or not the judge is going to throw the book at him on this or not.
Does that give you any indication, based on the fact that they denied bail, that the sentence might be longer than anticipated?
It could be. I mean, that gives me the understanding that the judge is thinking, hey, listen, he's going to be serving time anyway. Sure. So, why let him out on bail for a small period of time and then just put him right back in?
Right.
So
that's a waste of money.
Went into consideration, but it's going to be hard because the judge sat through the whole trial. And the judge heard all the evidence. Now he needs to limit the sentencing to the actual convictions, despite what the government has charged. But it's tough to read the tea leaves on this.
For beating that woman.
Sometimes judges want to overcompensate because if the prosecution didn't get the bigger charge, maybe they'll try to be heavier on the lower charges. But this judge seems to be a straight shooter, and I would just presume that it being his first offense. He may get the lighter side of it.
That is very interesting, and of course he has been fair, very balanced, and really more so eager to be balanced, to really seeing how high.
But see, I think they didn't bring those charges up because of assault on that woman. That's a state charge. That's a state misdemeanor. That's like simple assault. So that's like a state charge, If I'm not mistaken, I think it's a misdemeanor. Like family violence, if you beat your woman, which I don't like that, but it's like a less charge. That's why I think why they didn't give him bond, because he's violent, right? We seen that he beat, what he did to that lady. That right there, that shows that he's violent, right? So, and the ladies can say, well, I feel for my life. So, but yeah, that's not hitting on a woman. Unfortunately, if I'm not mistaken, that's a misdemeanor. Like that's not really, he's already done the time for that. I've known guys that beat on women and get assault charges and do like a month or two.
A little surprised, why the court wouldn't indulge any of that. I understand that they're concerned about the safety, of Cassie and some of the other witnesses. But as I said, what's the motivation for Diddy to do that? He's just going to get his bail revoked. He's going to get a longer sentence. And it's not going to do him any good in the long run.
That's a good point. Of course, the defense already has his passport, so it's not like he's going to be able to go outside of the country. We covered really everything that's happened in the last 20 minutes, half an hour, and that's been all
guilty counts,
breaking
3
news.
and 5.
Take me back, though, to early this morning. Because yesterday we saw the partial verdict.
It's on a later date.
The judge, the prosecution, the defense, all
but
on
it's
the
in
same
between
page to say,
2 to 10 for each count.
To resume more.
So the judge can give him
pretty
20
early in the day with
both
a
counts.
Split verdict. Were we surprised that overnight sleeping on it didn't change any of their minds, or that deliberations didn't continue on longer into the day?
Real men protect women. You're right.
I wasn't really surprised. They seemed to be pretty ironclad.
You're right.
4 counts.
See, I'm for the pause.
And I felt they would come back and they wouldn't try to.
See, guys, that's the reason why I really went live about the situation. Barry, what Barry first said, because if you listening to what the rap culture is saying, they're acting like Diddy got off. They're acting like it's not really that serious. That's why I brought this up, because they're acting like, and a lot of them really want Diddy to get out, but he beat women, really. But they not talking about that, bro. All they talking about is Diddy coming home, Diddy getting out today. But they're not talking about the 2 to 10, the 2 to 10. They're not talking about those 2 cases can be a 20-year sentence. They're not talking about that, bro. They're not talking about prostitution, state line prostitution. They're not talking about that. All they're pushing to the youngsters, Diddy coming home, Diddy coming home, to make it seem like it's cool. It's not, guys. That's the reason why I came live. That's the reason why I'm talking about this, to let everybody know he still got to do time. And I think 5 years with 1 year back time. That's what I think they're going to give him. But he's a convicted felon, bro. We got to understand that. If they give him probation, he's still a convicted felon. Prostitution. State line prostitution. That's a serious charge. And guess what? That 2 to 10, that's day for day. So if they sentence him to 5 years, that's 5 years. They can give him 20, right? Because it's 2 to 10, 2 to 10. The judge can say, I don't like you. 10, 10, 20. And when you're as old as Diddy, that alone is a life sentence. If I'm 56 years old, I'm 57 years old, and I get a 20-year sentence, that's just like giving me life, bro. That's just like giving life. So that's what we got to understand. Diddy coming home, Diddy getting out today. Like he was found not guilty on all charges. Diddy beat the feds. I hear people saying, Diddy beat the feds. Bro, he got found guilty on 2 counts. He did not beat the feds. As probably all of them probably know that now. They denied his bond. Biggie, yes. That's another thing. He still might be getting investigated about Tupac and Biggie. He won't be the first celebrity convicted felon. The president too. We're not talking about Donald Trump convictions right now. We're not talking about him. We're talking about this, which is Diddy. But I think Donald Trump will pardon him and get him out. That's what I think. Donald Trump gonna get him out. Donald Trump gonna pardon Diddy. That's what I think. I might be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised. I won't be surprised. Okay, let's go back. Appreciate y'all for joining me. Everybody that's commenting, I appreciate you. This is the channel where you can speak your mind. As long as you be respectful, you can speak your mind. There's a lot of smart people in the chat, and we appreciate y'all. Trump's as corrupt. Yes. See, what we got to understand, guys, majority of these politicians are corrupt. Majority of these rappers are corrupt. Majority of these billionaires are corrupt. That's nothing new. Yes. It's nothing new. Trump he's corrupt as well. All of them are, bro. All those politicians are corrupt. They all steal money. They all sacrifice other people. They all do it.
Yesterday was rainy in Manhattan. Today, likely hot and humid here as we enter the month of July. So let's continue on here on Live Now from Fox to take you out to our Fox 5 team. They're on the ground. Lisa Evers and others covering this breaking, developing story.
Verdict in his sex trafficking trial. Good evening. I'm Natasha Verma.
And I'm Bianca Peters. Welcome to the 6 o'clock news. That judge issuing that ruling just a short time ago, which means the hip-hop mogul will now remain in jail as he awaits sentencing in the fall.
That decision coming just hours after the 12-person jury reached a split verdict in the case, finding Diddy guilty on 2 prostitution-related offenses, but acquitted him on one of the most serious charges, and that was sex trafficking.
Let's get right out to Lisa Evers, who's been following the case since it began nearly 8 weeks ago. She's live outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Lisa, what is the reaction to today's verdict and the bail denial?
Bail denial. What's the reaction to today's verdict and bail denial? Bianca and Natasha, what a day this has been here. You can hear the helicopters above us circling around, making it a little bit difficult to hear. But let me tell you where we're at right now. The judge late this afternoon, just a short time ago, denied bail to Sean Diddy Combs. And what the latest is they have asked for a shorter expedited sentencing date, because what's happening now is the prosecution wanted a sentencing date in October. The defense said that's too far, that's too far from today. It's too far away. It's too much time. And so what they ended up compromising on is next week on Tuesday, the prosecution and the defense will get together. They will try to figure out another date, a more suitable date, closer, that both of them are happier with for the sentencing for Sean Diddy Combs. But this was a devastating blow for Combs, for his family, and for his supporters, because he beat those 2 of the toughest charges, the RICO charge, the racketeering conspiracy charge. He also beat 2 counts on the sex trafficking charge and ended up with a guilty verdict on the 2 counts of the prostitution transportation charge, which carries a maximum, each one of those counts, of 10 years. Now, the attorneys are telling us it's unlikely he would get 10 plus 10, but anything is possible in this case, as we've seen so far. I mean, they were hoping, the defense was hoping, according to what I'm being told, that they would be able to deal with this bail issue this morning after the jury came back, took off the table those 2 of the most serious charges, and that they would be able to deal with the bail hearing. His family, of course, hoping that Combs would be going home with them tonight, or at least be able to go out to dinner with them and not have to spend another night at MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center, which is one of the most notorious federal detention facilities, jails in the country. Had numerous problems. There have been congressional investigations, all sorts of things. They're very bad conditions, a very old prison, and with a lot of structural problems there as well. Yeah. So where he stands right now is, after the verdict came out, the final verdict this morning, Sean Diddy Combs was put into a holding pen in the courthouse while they were waiting for this hearing, which began around 5 o'clock this afternoon. Now, what that means is he's going to go back tonight to MDC. The holiday weekend at MDC instead of being with his family and being out.
Yeah.
But
that's a federal
so
case.
Basically a split decision and a split victory for the defense team. And the prosecution is saying that he remains in danger, that he needs to be kept behind bars. And I think one of the things that weighed heavily in the judge's decision-making about saying no bail was the fact that even after Sean Combs knew that he was under federal investigation, he knew that the feds were watching him, that the FBI was watching him, and all of that he still continued to allegedly commit crimes. They referred to an incident with Jane, the woman who used the pseudonym Jane, where she was beaten after he had already been under surveillance and notified that he was under investigation.
Yeah, we already know they denied his bond.
So a lot going on here, but right now the big news is no bail, and Sean Diddy Combs is going to be going back to MDC tonight. That's the latest from federal court. I'm Lisa Evers, Fox 5 News. Bianca Natasha, back to you in the studio.
Some interesting pieces of information you added.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Meanwhile, certainly not the outcome Diddy or his supporters were hoping for.
Joining us now to tell us what could be next is former New York City prosecutor Seth Zuckerman. Seth, thank you so much for joining us.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think, first of all, what's your reaction to this bail denial? And the judge saying that He's a violent man.
Him getting the max,
yeah,
I don't think that'll happen.
The government put forth a
that
very
judge
strong
to give him
letter
the
saying
20.
That,
I don't think that, but I think he'll get 5
at this point,
and 5,
and
and they run it together as concurrent.
unless he could find 2 exceptions.
That's what
One
I
is
think.
that he's not a danger and a flight risk,
3 to 5.
and that he's not a danger to the community, and
That's
he's not
what
a
I'm
violent
thinking,
person.
too.
And the judge clearly found that he's got a propensity for violence, found that the defense even conceded that during closing arguments.
Right.
Because, the defense in this case was, he's an abuser, but he's not leading a racketeering, a criminal enterprise.
It was a key strategy in fighting the RICO.
And now that's backfired a little bit on the bail denial.
Sure.
The court clearly took that into consideration. The defendant's concessions said, even in your closing argument, you admitted that he's a violent person, and now I can consider that for bail, and I'm not going to let him out based on that. The judge clearly found that he's a danger to the community.
Now, does this bail denial give us a hint and maybe what the judge might do when it comes to sentencing?
I'm not so sure that that's the case quite yet. The government submitted a letter today to the court saying that the sentencing guidelines in their estimation are 51 to 63 months. The defense submitted a letter saying the sentencing guidelines in their estimation are 21 to 27 months.
Right.
So it's somewhere
that's
around
why,
in that range that the judge is going to consider.
That's why
it's up to 10 years on each count.
I had to really go live about this, bro. The reason why I really went live about this is because I started seeing everybody, particularly in the community, getting excited, right? Like he beat all the charges. Like he's really got off scot-free. That's the reason why I went live about this, to explain how it really works. Nobody has said anything about his criminal record. Does he have any violent charges on his record? Now that I don't know. They haven't. You're right, ATM Tim. They haven't said. They haven't released his criminal record. That's what they haven't done. But that's the reason why I went live about this situation, because everybody was saying, "Did he get out? Did it?" But at the end of the day, they're not talking about those 2 charges. The transportation of prostitution, they're not talking about that. And those are serious charges, 2 to 10 for each one. The judge could give him 20. The judge could give that dude 20, and he'll be out of there. So that's why I say, and the main thing is, flying these girls out, bro. Meeting these women on Instagram, meeting these women on the internet. And a lot of people, they make it seem like that's the thing to do. You got money, you can fly the girls out and go live with them and stuff. That's kind of like the thing to do. And a lot of people on the internet, if they see the content creators do it, if they see the rappers do it, they think it's all right. They want to be cool, like the big time content creators and the big time rappers. They think it's cool. So they want to start flying out these Instagram thoughts. But they need to know that is a serious felony case, bro. All you got to do is act fly with one of these Instagram thoughts. And guess what they're going to do? They can ruin your whole life. They can P. Diddy you. That's what I'm calling it. They can P. Diddy you, bro. If you got, because a lot of these dudes that got a lot of followers, they got money. They tend to treat women all kind of ways, right? So if you got multiple women that you flying out, one woman, you treat her lovely. The other woman, you don't treat her as good. The other woman, you treat her bad. But sooner or later, one of them gonna get jealous, bro. And once they do, and then if you cut them off, that's another reason why you'll cut one off, but keep the other one, and the one you cut off get upset. She ain't getting no more money. The money you giving them might be enough to pay their rent, their lifestyle, right? Now, because you done cut her off, because you with this other female, she got to leave up out of that sky rise, living like George Jefferson and Wheezy. You got to move out of that sky rise. And you can't let nobody on the internet know because you got an image to uphold. Guess what they're going to do? Man, they're going to roll over on you quick, fast, in a hurry. And they're going to P. Diddy you straight up. So what I'm saying, everybody, take note. YouTube content creators, take note. Them Instagram models, bro, you got to take note. Leave them where they at. Correct. Sadly, people look up to low lives like this. Right. Let them rot in jail. Money corrupts. Power corrupts. That's right. That's right. So that's the thing, guys. You got to pay attention to details. Got to pay attention to the details. But then also we got to remember, we got on the back end, we got the House. They are finna get ready to vote on the big beautiful bill. See, that's still on the back end. These Instagram thoughts are ruining. Yeah, they is, bro. They ruining people's lives. Yeah. They ruining people's lives, bro. All it takes is for one of them to get jealous. That's it. And then one of them get jealous, or they start arguing back and forth with each other, and one of them high cap on the other one. Guess what the other one gonna do? She gonna P Diddy you. She gonna P Diddy you. For real. Look at Zion, Anthony Edwards, and PJ Watt. Yeah. You right, ATM Tim? Yep. Them boys are getting P. Diddy right now. Especially Zion falling for a New Orleans stripper. Come on, bro. That's how it go though. Them BBLs. Thirsty. Can't be thirsty out there, guys. Being thirsty behind these women, I have you in last place. Cash Out just got hit with similar charges as Diddy. Yeah. And guess what's going to happen? A lot of these women, they're going to follow the Cassie blueprint to get big money out of these guys. That's what's going to happen. Because guess what? Them women watching, bro. They're going to follow that blueprint. I think Shannon Sharp going through the same thing too. But we ain't been hearing about that lately. Shannon Sharp, remember that, guys? When that lady came out and sued Shannon Sharp and put out the videos? Don't agree here. It's not about jealousy. It's about the fact Diddy and men like him have adulterous and dishonest lives. Many women don't even know about the other women. Yeah, that too. Yep, that be the case too. Very first. And when they find out about the other woman, they're going to go to the left. Yeah. Yep, I agree with that. It's all kind of ways. Like my grandma and grandpa used to tell me, it's more than one way to skin a cat. Yeah. But guys, you can't be like Diddy, bro. You can't. He too old to be doing those things, bro. Just like Shannon Sharp. He being sued by another one of them women that they meet off Instagram. Come on, bro. You too old to be going through that. Too old to be thirsty. Sad situation. So You bring it on yourself. That's true. Bring that on yourself. So we got to keep that in the forefront. So I appreciate y'all for joining me, man. I appreciate everybody for coming through, rocking with me. You know, over here, you can come and share your thoughts. There's a lot of smart people in the world, bro. A lot. You know, and I like hearing other people's, you know, take on certain things. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like hearing that. So I appreciate y'all for rocking with me, guys. That's it for right now. Hope y'all have a great night. Hope y'all have a great 4th of July that's coming up. We'll be back live in the morning, of course. And it will be business as usual. We got the big, beautiful bill coming up. Big, beautiful bill coming up. So we're waiting on that. So with that being said, guys, y'all have a great night. Love and I appreciate y'all. Everybody that's been subscribing to the channel. Love and I appreciate y'all. Everybody that's been coming and kicking it with me. I love and I appreciate y'all, bro. Y'all could be anywhere else, but y'all kicking it with me. Yeah, and I love and I appreciate that. So to the next one, y'all have a great night. I'm out.